Okay, we might begin. So thanks for coming to today's signature lecture from the ARC Center of Excellence for Enabling Eco-Efficient Beneficiation of Minerals. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. And we pay our respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people today. We're very fortunate to have two speakers from FLSmidth, one of our industry partners in the center. And the first speaker is Rebecca Siwale. And Rebecca's going to talk to us about her journey and through gender diversity, equity, and inclusion, her journey, how to navigate that to a executive position in a large METS company. And with that, we'll let Rebecca tell us her story. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, George, and thank you for all the participants who've joined today, and thank you so much for having me. And my name is Rebecca, and I will, like George has said, tell you a little bit about myself. I'll tell you about my journey, my navigation through the industry, and we'll cover a little bit of kind of the trends in terms of gender diversity, equity, and inclusion in the mining industry. And then I'll just wrap it up by looking at a few key trends important to various mining companies, mining industry, various trends that maybe they should be focusing on. And so I will start by telling you a little bit about myself. So I was born and raised on the copper belt of Zambia, which is in Africa, and this was in a very small mining town. My father was a miner, and so grew up a lot around mining, and everything around that little town was very mining centric. And, you know, we had this joke where we said, you know, mining was the community and the community was mining. It was hard to tell the two apart. And so, you know, growing up in that environment, you know, dinner tables was all usually stories, you know, from my father about his day. So, you know, quickly, as a young girl, you know, I learned how mines were operated. He was managing the underground mine, and actually Konkola underground mine is one of the wettest, it's actually the wettest mine in the world. So, you know, so being fascinated really around how human beings are being hoisted underground, and obviously you know, they are there to extract all the minerals, and the fascination just around the technology to do all of that. But you know, one of the things he always talked about was safety, which was of a very, you know, paramount importance. And you know, as you may be aware, with underground mining, a small failure could actually be catastrophic. And, you know, within that town, you could actually hear why, and the way of telling how important safety was there would always be a siren, you know, when miners were hoisted underground, and a siren when they were coming up. And my dad always talked about this special siren, which, you know, and thankfully I never got to hear it. But in case of a catastrophic failure, they would alarm the whole community of any incident that happened. So, which for me was a testament of how safety was key. And for me, it was a success for my father, you know, who was running that particular mine. And so, you know, on some weekends, you know, when he's not underground and paperwork, working on paperwork, we did get permission to go in for a visit, you know, to his office. And I always wondered, you'd see the shaft, obviously that's taking the miners underground, but there was all of this equipment, right, that will drive through to get to his office. And I would always ask, Dad, what is this? And he says, well, guess what? Like I always say, what we get from underground is a form of a rock. But what we are actually going to get at the end of processing that rock is metal, copper, right, or metal cobalt. And so there's the art of processing that. And so that was a huge fascination for me. So early on, I think I knew what my career was going to be, but obviously, you look 23 years back and, more than 23 years back, that wasn't the case for women. That wasn't a natural career trajectory for women. But thankfully, I had parents who raised me, and for them, they really did believe, and the value that they did instill was, you can do anything that you wanted. So that was never a barrier. And so when I graduated high school and went to university, my career of choice was chemical engineering. So very much looked up to my father, wanted to be a mining engineer, but I adjusted those footsteps a little bit and did chemical engineering. And when I graduated, I started work. My first job was with Glencore Mine, and this was metallurgist. And I was a frontline supervisor, and this was in 2000. So worked in mining operations 10 years in Zambia, and then moved to the US for school. Graduated with an MBA, but continued still in mining, and joined Freeport-McMoRan in the US. Worked there for 2 years, and left and joined FLSmidth in 2012, and I've since been with the company. So it was a huge fascination for me. Obviously in the operations, I was on the other side, running these operations and running the equipment that FLSmidth manufactures, but to then join and be more on the engineering side and really also try to grow my career and experience the art of engineering that equipment, and taking all the lessons that I learned operating it, and understanding the needs that our customers have, and making sure that I could be of value to FLSmidth with that background knowledge. Some of the highlights of my career, and I'll go a little bit on my next slide on how I navigated my career, both in operations in FLSmidth, but some achievements. As last year, I was awarded one of the 100 Global Inspirational Women in Mining, so which was very humbling, and and it was just inspirational to be among the other 99, which are very, very incredible women, and women that any one of us should really try to learn from, because they're amazing. And also one of the big things that have been key for me, understanding what I went through, navigating my career, and is just to ensure that I can give back and mentor other men and women joining the industry. And so I am chair of the Society of Mining, Metallurgy and Exploration, Diversity and Inclusion Communications Subcommittee. And I've been doing this for the last couple of years, something I enjoy very much. And I'm also, my personal life, I'm married and I have 3 girls. And fingers crossed, hoping one of them will join mining, and hopefully we'll have a 3rd generation. And so navigating my career in mining, and I kind of listed, kind of the 3 different areas, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. And as you can see, there's a lot of good, a lot that I cannot list today, but hopefully as I walk through I'll be able to touch on a lot of these. So when I started up my career with Glencoe, very fascinating first day. I had a very too progressive of a father who did not even tell me, when you get into mining, there's obviously no women. I had no idea. I didn't think, this was just an industry for men, right? Surely there should be other women who are just as fascinated as I am. And so first day on the job, it was a clear realization. I was actually the only female metallurgist. I was going to be the first female metallurgist at the site. And a really interesting notion. And, you could see the looks that I was getting, a lot of it just fascination, from the men, wondering, why I would pick a career like this. But I was very, very well received, very well received. So starting to navigate myself through that, I was very fortunate. So all graduates getting into the mine had to go through this graduate development program, which was an 18-month program. And for companies who have that program, kudos, because it is such a good program, especially for women, where in my case, where I was the first, and obviously would have challenges along the way, but this program takes you through all the different parts of the mine, and at each portion. So it was an 18-month program. At each section of the mine, you spend a good 3 months, and you're learning from the operator. So you start. You are given a time period where you're working with the operators. Once you complete that, you then move up to the supervisor. So you really start to understand, the needs and the challenges, that each of the operators at each of these different levels go through. And my goodness, I learned from the best. And if you ever want to learn on the job, learn from the hands-on. And so it was such a great experience. And for me, this also led into that tribal knowledge, because, the 1 year I spent through this program, the 18 months rather, I spent through this program was like 10 years of experience, because I was building up, knowledge from what these operators had gone through. Right. They taught me ways of, when there's a challenge, or when there's a risk, or when there's a failure, when there's a shortage of our input, or when our input is of a specific mineralogy, and they taught me everything. It was so great. And at the end of that program, because you go through all the different areas of the processing plant, they then give you the opportunity to select where you'd like to settle, and where you'd like your first job to be. But they also get recommendations from all the different supervisors that are running the different areas, And so it was really fascinating to see, once I completed the 18-month program, the many references and wants that I received. So to me, that was a huge confirmation. And then you develop these relationships through that program as well. That then later on led to some of the great mentors that I had throughout my career. And so going through the program, starting my career, one of the realization or one of the, it's actually the bad, right, that typically women face when they join a male dominated industry or companies is this fact of seeing is believing, right? If you don't see something that looks like you in management, in leadership, it's hard for you to ever imagine that you would get there. So for me at the mine site, a big challenge was obviously being able to work night shift. And I could understand the concern from the mine. Obviously, they were concerned about my safety, but it was also a realization, if I never run and work night shifts, I would never be able to run those mines. Because as a manager, you should have, successfully run night shifts, day shifts, gone through all these different challenges. And sometimes majority of the issues actually happen in the night. And so that is something, I started having these discussions with my managers, and it was an absolute no. Rebecca, and of course, being the only lady metallurgist, they typically called me Lady Met. And so it was like, no, Lady Met, it's not going to happen. We need to keep you safe. But, I continued to push for that. And I said, look, give me the best security that you have, right? Let me just try it just one night. And so he finally caved in and agreed. So we tried the one night, and everything went well. And so then it was 2 nights, 3 nights, and this was never an issue after that. And so, like my fellow peers, the men, whenever we had issues on the plant, we had low production or issues with maintenance, and we needed to go in shift work. It was no longer Lady Met will take the day shift, and all my peers will, move between the afternoon and the night. But it was just, and it just became a normal roster, so I was given night shifts as well. And so one of the things, I would like to point out here is, for companies being able to create those active pathways for women. So obviously recognizing that these women would need various experiences in order to advance and to develop, and just removing those barriers and ensuring those opportunities for growth are available for women as well. And then we go into the ugly. And typically what you will see, and it happened to me, was that self-doubt, right? When these pathways are not created for you, or when you have these barriers, it was a quick tumble into self-doubt, where I'm questioning myself, right? Am I really worth it? Do I have what it takes? Am I cut out for this, right? And so I think, as colleagues, as managers, as professors, students, obviously you graduate, you go in the industry, you will see some of this happen. So it always a good check-in, with our peers, with our colleagues, to ensure that we can remove this self-doubt, because, the self-doubt actually is what propels us from undermining ourselves, but also not having the ability to take the risks that you need in order for you to advance and to develop your career. And briefly moving through my trajectory and being able to navigate my career, it really did provide those early years working in operations, did provide the confidence that I needed to even move into an engineering company, where I felt my experience in operations was very relevant to how we are engineering and manufacturing our equipment that our customers very much need. But it also gives me the confidence then to go back into operations and support our customers on our equipment when it's at site, understanding how it can be better operated, understanding how they can better maintain it, and obviously optimizing. As we all know, over time, when you're mining, you get deeper in your pits, you get wider, your ore grade will drop, your mineralogy will get more and more complex. So as much as we have the state-of-art equipment and the best equipment, our customers are struggling on productivity, to get, and with those low grades, in order for them to really be profitable and for those operations to be viable, they need to get the most and everything out of those ores. So again, having that ability to then go back and optimize and train and now, moving into FLSmidth, I am heading the digital transformation, and this is really key for the industry, where we now start talking about how we can optimize how that particular equipment works. In order to lower our energy costs, in order to get the most material through our mills, in order to to have cameras that are looking at, let's say, the bubble size and giving us those insights, giving us the data that will tell us, hey, you need to adjust a little bit on your reagents. And so I'm loving each and every part of my job now, because I am giving back to the community that taught me everything that I know today. I also wanted to, we looked at the past, my career through the industry, but I also wanted to just talk about today, which, to me, when I look back 23 years ago, when I was the only female metallurgist at site, and I look at when I go back to these operations, or I look at FLSmidth today, it's a whole different picture. Very, very promising picture. And we've come a long way. And I am really positive in the direction the industry is going. Could this move a little bit faster? Yes, but it's not that easy. It's even getting more and more complex now, especially with a different generation, with different beliefs and with different demands from them as well. But just looking at current data, so FLSmidth, as an example, this year, the leadership put very strong KPIs in place, which I'm really proud of the company that I work for. So right now we are aiming to hire at least out of every 3 employees, one to be one of the 3 to be female. And our targets are to reach 25% of managers, female managers, and 25% of the total workforce by 2030. So really aggressive KPIs, and I know management is committed, and we have goals in place that will push us into that trajectory. I also looked at various companies with operating sites in Australia. So BHP, for example, I think they've really set the bar high. For BHP, they are saying they want to reach gender balance, gender parity by 2025. And very, very fascinating numbers, because we are in 2023, so 2 years to go. But if you look at how many headcounts of women they've added since they put those targets in place, it's 5,000, more than 5,000. So really excellent on their part. And they are currently at about 30% of their workforce is women. So we are sending all those positive vibes, and I'm really, really confident that we'll be able to, BHP will be able to meet those targets. Sorry, struggling a little bit here with the technology. This is flickering across. For COEMinerals, again, they're, seeing is believing. Their board representation for women is more than 50%, and they have 26 women in senior management roles. And I know they had a female CEO. I'm not sure if she's still CEO, but again, very, very positive trends. Rio Tinto, positive as well. Being based in Salt Lake City in Utah, Rio Tinto, Kennecott, Rio Tinto is just 30 minutes away. So we have a couple services there, and I do drive to site occasionally, and it's so good to just see their number of women, from driving their whole trucks to, running maintenance, operators, running operations. It's really encouraging to see all of that. Anglo America as well. with their report in 2021 of a 27% increase in female in leadership positions is also just encouraging as well. I also dug a little bit and looked at what trends, not just in the mining industry, but just across the globe in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And there were 4 critical areas that at least a big watch for 2023. And so this was an article by Forbes. And one of the areas is, companies, we are seeing more and more companies addressing these social issues. And it's becoming more and more common. And obviously you also see a huge drive from just a social leadership as well in the world. And then of course, this is now becoming an expectation that leaders will need to bring these social issues to the head of the table, right? It's not something that we discussed in the past at home, but it's obviously an expectation within the workplace as well. And the 2021 Workforce Happiness Index also found that 78% of workers want employers that value diversity, inclusion, and equity. And again, going back to the younger generation, this is definitely a key for them as they join these various companies. Another trend was the social impact, how imperative that is. And this in turn improves retention. So giving employees a platform to have those open discussions about the issues most important to them will also allow engagement. And then, enthusiasm as well will just skyrocket. So another key trend to look out for. Another one trend that I saw was gender identity will also take center stage in 2023 and obviously, the following years. So again, as companies, as institutions, it's very, very important for us to have these conversations, but also make sure that we are doing them in a very respectful and understanding way. So understanding and respect will become more and more critical. And then the one trend that was very near and dear to my heart is remote operations, and because of digital, right? And data now will become the differentiator. And we've seen this trend, especially in countries like Chile, Peru, where majority of the operations are high up in high elevation in the mountains. And, understanding that women, primary home caretakers. So, it's hard for them, especially when you're starting up a family to work, these flying in, flying out, programs, to be out in the remote. So we are starting to see companies like BHP, Escondida, having remote operations, a big remote center in Santiago in the city. And I had the opportunity to visit this center last year, and over 60% of the operators within that remote. And if I remember the numbers, where they have over 150 employees in the remote center, and over 60% were actually women. So that's encouraging, and we are seeing more and more of these operations having more of these remote operations in the city. And then obviously, we all did go through COVID. And so, the ability to work from home, for specific jobs. So companies are becoming more and more open to people having that flexibility. And it's definitely key, especially on the younger generation. So we will see this flex work, remote operations, becoming more and more relevant, and a lot of data-driven decisions for our operations becoming more and more relevant as we move forward. And I think it's also encouraging for us to also attract more women into the mining industry. And I think with that, I will then open for questions. And thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Rebecca, for that really deep insight into the really positive things that are happening now and that are happening in the near future, as well as sharing your personal journey, which is fascinating. So we might take a couple of quick questions, but we are going to have to move on to give Craig a bit of time. So does somebody want to just unmute themselves if you have a question, or we could hold it for the end? If anything come in on the chat? If not, we might hold a few questions till the end. Thank you very much, Rebecca, but let's give Craig a chance to talk next. Yeah, thank you. So Craig Wilson is the second speaker from FLSmidth. And you can share your screen, Craig. Turn your camera back on if you want.
Let me know when you can see it, George.
Yeah, it's coming on. Just go to presentation mode. Then it's good.
Is that there?
That looks good. Yeah, so many of you would know Craig. He's one of the key industry partners in our center. He attends many of these signature lectures, and you would have seen him in person at the conference in Canberra and last year, and he's joining other of the stakeholder committee meetings and things like that. And so Craig is going to tell us about how FLSmidth interacts with universities, and in particular, the relationship between FLSmidth and University of Newcastle. So thank you, Craig.
Well, thank you, George, and thank you for the Centre of Excellence for the opportunity to present. It doesn't seem to be scrolling down. I seem to have a problem. There we go.
There we go. Yep.
All right. Today I'll be talking about the relationship between academia and industry, a relationship that I've called essential in the title. So why essential? I think we'd all agree that collaboration between academia and industry is important, but I'd go as far as saying that it is essential if the mining industry is going to be equipped with the technologies it needs to overcome the challenges that face us. Those challenges will be familiar, and I won't go into details here, but they can be summarized as the need to improve mineral recovery despite falling ore grades and increasingly complex mineralogy, while at the same time reducing energy, water, and other inputs. In short, to do more with less. Under the Sustainable Mining and Mission Zero, providing solutions to this challenge has been our focus at FLSmidth for quite a number of years. Under our Mission Zero program, which we launched in 2019, we've set a target to make zero emissions and zero wastewater mining a reality by 2030. Our aspiration is to become the #1 sustainability service provider in the mining industry, assisting our clients to reach their ESG targets. 4 years on, we remain committed to this cause. And interestingly, that FLSmidth has always been committed to sustainability, even before it became a buzzword. Our company has been helping our customers produce cement efficiently and cleanly for over 140 years. So collaboration is the key. Some of the technologies needed to achieve our Mission Zero targets are already available, but we are by no means all the way there. Innovation, research, and development of new technologies and solutions are therefore critical to the mining industry's path to sustainability. And this is where we circle back to the relationship between academia and industry. we look back at some of the important technological breakthroughs in mining over the years, many have started out in academia. HPGRs, mineral processing simulation tools, and the REFLUX Classifier were all developed in collaboration with universities. As the industry matures and faces an increasingly complex operating environment, so innovation will increasingly rely on sophisticated and complex technologies. And this is what makes research partnership between academia and industry more important than ever. An increasingly complex operating environment will require solutions that rely on increasingly sophisticated and complex technologies. Just a picture of our HPGR and also a picture of our REFLUX Classifier. So collaboration is the key. We have long recognized this importance, and today we're involved in many important R&D collaborations across the mining flow sheet with universities, organizations around the world. Key academic partnerships for FLSmidth aim to deliver technological progress across the mining flow sheet. Under the dewatering and tailings, we work with Karlsruhe Institute of Technology in Germany, University of Alberta in Canada, University of Leoben in Austria, and the CSIRO in Australia. In the flotation, we work with the University of Cape Town in South Africa, Stellenbosch University in South Africa, Imperial College of London in the UK, Helmholtz Center for Dresden, Rossendorf in Germany, Norwegian University of Science and Technology in Norway, RVL Swedish Environmental Research Institute in Sweden, and of course with the University of Newcastle in Australia. In comminution, we work with Chalmers University of Technology in Sweden, University of British Columbia in Canada, and University of Santiago de Chile in Chile, and Universidad Técnica Federico Santa Maria in Chile. Case study of FLSmidth and the University of Newcastle. Our relationship started back in 2012 when Ludovici, which was purchased by FLSmidth in 2012, signed an exclusive global licensing agreement for the REFLUX Classifier. More than 2 decades on, the relationship is going strong and now includes all reflux technologies such as the reflux flotation cell, more on which later, as well as some others such as the graviton and the sinkhole. The licensing agreement has also been extended to 2050. REFLUX Classifier is a success story. This combination of academia and industry allows the progress of technologies from the drawing board through laboratory scale testing to pilot testing at the mine site and eventually to installing full-scale units. First for commercial scale validation testing and then full production. The REFLUX Classifier is a case in point. What began as an idea at the university is now a proven technology with more than 200 units installed and processing a range of commodities. REFLUX Classifiers have also helped drive profitability for the mines for which they are installed. It's helped reduce the amount of valuable minerals being lost to tailings, and in some cases it was the technology that got the project over the line due to the high value it brought to the project. This is the development of the REFLUX Classifier. As you can see on the left-hand side was the original RC1800, which was square. We then went on to an RC2000, which has got an underflow dart valve and feed coming in from the top end. And then we've got the double header RC3000, which is the one second to the right. And then we've got the new high capacity RC, which has increased the capacity by 40%. This slide is one that I really enjoy talking about. The RC plant in blue is a single REFLUX Classifier, an RC2000 that replaced 3 stages of spirals and an upcurrent classifier, which is that section in the red. And we got a higher yield, we got a better quality, we had a lower silicon and no sub 106 micron in the product. The payback for this was 4 days for the unit itself. and 30 days for the plant at the time. So continuing the innovation, so taking the reflux family on a generation, one of the technologies we engaged on at the moment is the reflux flotation cell, or the RFC. Developed by academics at the University of Newcastle, the RFC is a frothless system able to operate at levels of gas, feed, and fluidization flux water far above conventional flotation cells. As a result, it can deliver fast and effective flotation performance that pushes the boundaries of concentration grade, recovery, and throughput. What does this mean in practice? The RFC can reduce required flotation volumes by 7 to 10 times that is needed by a traditional flotation cell. This means significantly lower air and water consumption, as well as a much smaller plant footprint and capex. It has no direct power input. The development of the RFC was and continues to be a great example of how academia and industry can partner to bring a new technology to market. Full-scale testing is being done in an Australian coal mine. Additional pilot-scale test trials were completed in an Australian copper and North American molybdenum application. During this work, which we funded, the RFC plants demonstrated the ability to reduce energy consumption by 60%, CO2 emissions by 60%, and a plant footprint of 50% compared to traditional flotation cells. They also delivered significant process benefits that resulted in a 5 to 8% improvement in recovery and 10% increase in throughput. We are now actively promoting the RFC within the global mining industry and have integrated it into our Mission Zero Mine of the Future flow sheet. We are also continuing to work with our academic partners to scale up the technology. Feasibility testing at larger scale is planned at copper and iron ore mine sites in Europe and a nickel site in Australia. Experimental and modeling work for further scale up and design will also continue on top of life cycle assessment as the consortium works towards commercialization of the technology at a global level. So these are just pictures of the pilot unit, which is an RFC 100 on the left-hand side. In the middle, you can see the RFC 2000 in the factory. And on the right-hand side, you can see the RFC 2000 in the plant. So it's quite a substantial size. So working together and the benefits. The success of the reflux technology is one practical example of how the relationship between academic and industry is able to improve commercial mining operations. So what does each partner bring to the relationship, and how do these work together to progress innovation to the in the mining industry? I suggest there are four main benefits: raising grants, technology transfer from lab to the field, market acceptance, and end user interaction. Let's go through these. We see the first benefit when it comes to raising grants to fund initial and ongoing research into new technologies. Although the university will conduct much of the work in this area, industry support in the form of funds, laboratory equipment, and in-kind support can improve the chances of success with grant applications. On the technology transfer, early collaboration between academia and industry also helps when it comes to transferring lab-scale technologies to the field. In this regard, we have been very fortunate to work with Professor Kevin Galvin here at the University of Newcastle. Kevin has always considered the scalability of his laboratory scale research, which has helped us hugely when introducing the technology to mine sites and the development of the technology. This has included many discussions between Kevin and our product managers, ensuring that product development is a two-way street and achieves the best possible outcomes for the product. This collaborative working relationship is vitally important to success and continues even after the product is launched. The market acceptance, of course, we as the industry partner also invest in the development of any new technology, both in terms of money, but also in terms of time and via industry connections. Financial investment can cover anything from engineering drawings and on-site pilot testing to marketing, product support, and patents, and the protection of those patents. This includes traveling around the world to introduce the technology to our customers and at industry events. For example, we are now actively marketing the RFC across various platforms. This will include presenting the technology at industry conferences and events, publishing product information and case studies on our website, as well as the trade magazines via social media, and traveling to our customers to introduce them to the technology. Through this process, it is always important to remember that just because an idea is good does not necessarily mean it will succeed. Miners are notorious for wanting to be first to be second. Industry risk aversion is high due to the large capital outlays and long project development timelines. Technologies can often take decades to come to fruition. The support of a reliable industry partner can therefore see the technology through this long development cycle, and when costs are high, but returns have yet to be seen. Just an example of the kind of money that we've thrown in it. This is a REFLUX Classifier modular plant that we funded. We built the whole thing and we sent it out to a mine site to run and try to recoup our investment through the operation side of it. So significant investment. So end user interaction. End users also benefit from the collaboration between academic and industry. When it comes to the University of Newcastle and FLSmidth, end users may have contact with both of us, but the nature of the engagement is different. Clients often contact Kevin to gain a better understanding of what he is developing, to lab test some of their ores, and to validate some of the work that they have done. On the other hand, we're in contact with clients to conduct test work, to assist with validation, and ultimately to sell the technology to them. This interaction may happen at different times or at the same time, and helps to build a level of confidence in the technology on the part of the end user. And in conclusion, as I alluded to in the introduction, the mining industry faces a period of intense challenge and change. To meet the demands placed upon it, the industry will require innovation and new technologies, but no one group will have all the answers. It is therefore in collaboration with the industry that the industry will find a path forward. Here at FLSmidth, we value the opportunity to engage with our university partners, both here at the University of Newcastle with the Centre of Excellence and around the world, and to deliver solutions that positively impact both the mining industry and our world. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Craig. Nice insight into how a good relationship between industry and university can work. So we have time for questions for Craig or for Rebecca if you want. Just unmute yourself and okay, Ellen, go ahead. Thanks, Ellen.
Hello, thank you both. That was really interesting talks. My question is for Rebecca. We know in industry and also in academia that we can often get women into these roles when they're sort of young and enthusiastic. But sometimes we have challenges as organizations in kind of retaining women in that sort of middle management level. Do you have any sort of perspectives on, you know, perhaps what FLSmidth is doing and other players in the mining industry to sort of keep women in the organization once they're already there?
Yeah. No, thank you for that, Ellen. Yeah, it's not just about hiring, right? But really ensuring that we can retain a lot of the women that are joining the industry. And I know one of the areas FLSmidth has really been working on, as I alluded to earlier, is creating those pathways for career growth. Just, you know, some of the interaction I've had as well with, you know, women not just leaving, let's say, you know, FLSmidth, but leaving the industry as a whole, has been the frustration of, I just do not see a pathway. I do not see a career growth for me. And so this year, especially, it's a huge focus for the managers. The retention aspect of the female employees is to make sure that, we are starting to talk about succession planning. We are starting to really have these engagement with our teams on, what is that career pathway for you. It may not be in your current area. It could also be in another area. But another fascinating thing, which was a discussion from the Women in Mining conference in the US, which was in Tucson about 3 weeks ago, was also starting to attract women, not from just the typical area, especially in mining, like, the technical area that, we typically are searching for, because at the end of the day, we are really all trying to tap from a very small pool. So start going into the non-traditional. So let's get a finance major who can then be taught equipment knowledge, right? And vice versa. So those are also key conversations and that are going on, and hopefully we can start implementing some of that as well.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah, just to add on that, you say BHP is going to be needing to put in 5,000 women, and you're absolutely right. There can't possibly be 5,000 minerals engineering graduates coming in the next few years. So they're going to have to take women from other related fields and train them and to make that transition. Yeah,
exactly.
Kevin, do you have a comment as well, or?
No, I've certainly enjoyed both the presentations, and it's great to get that broad-based insight, and also to hear about the great work at FLSmidth in what is an important area across the board and for this centre. And thank you to Craig for that overview of the, I guess it's the collaboration between industry and university and a case study. And we certainly hear quite a lot from government about how they would like to see more of this.
Only a pleasure.
So Craig, I have a question for you. You're working with a lot of different universities on every continent, it seems like. And so my question is, what fraction of those relationships start with somebody coming to you and saying, I have this idea or this equipment, or what fraction of them start with somebody coming to you and saying, what are your problems and what are your issues?
Look, George, I think that, if you have a look at it, the universities are obviously talking to industry as well. So some of our customers come around and say, this university is doing a very good job in this particular area. You need to make contact with them. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We're also, as you can see, we're very close to the university, so we know what they're doing, and they respect what we can offer. And, if they're starting on something, they'll come to us and say, this is what we'd like to get involved in. Are you interested? And we'll take that up, or we'll say, kindly say, sorry, but it's not within the area that we're focused in. And then we've got people that are out looking all the time, just understanding what's going on. We've got universities that do come to us that aren't part of us, part of who we work with. So it's a mixture, but it's a great mixture. And I think that what I like about what the Centre of Excellence is doing is they're focused on the Mission Zero. FLSmidth is focused on Mission Zero. So there's a good combination there of working together to achieve what we want to achieve. And certainly any universities that are out there that have got potentials for equipment that are going to go into to contribute towards Mission Zero, we'd be very interested in talking to them.
Fantastic, thank you. We got a few more minutes. Any other questions or comments? Just raise your hand, or you can type something in the chat if you want.
And maybe if I can also just reiterate that it's mining that we're into. It's not just anything. We are focused on mining, and we're particularly focused towards the plant side of mining.
Okay, if there's no more questions or comments, let's thank both Craig and Rebecca for some really nice insights into some social aspects and technical aspects of interaction with industry and in mineral processing. And I just want to let them know how much we really appreciate the support from the industry partners. And as you said, you rely on academia as a partner, but without the partnerships with industry, the academics could never get anything implemented. So it is the key. And so we might leave it at that.